Okay, so I'm going to introduce you to ethics now. What is ethics? Well, the key idea in ethics, if there is one, is that it is the academic, so kind of school related, intellectual, academic study of right and wrong. So I've put academic in here for a very good reason, because we're all practitioners of ethics. We all do things in the world, and those things may be right or they may be wrong. But the question in kind of academic ethics is, what do we mean by right? And what do we mean by wrong? So, ethics, if I were to give you a definition, and I'm about to, although it may not be a very good one, is really about giving reasons, and these reasons are rational for action. So, why ought you to do something and why ought you not to do something? And those reasons are complicated, and they are something that we're going to spend a long time exploring and explaining and criticizing. But today, what I want to do is I want to kind of introduce you to the core ideas of ethics, the core kind of categories of study, of academic study. And there are three. It all got very colourful, didn't it? Probably a bit too colourful. So the three levels of ethical study are metaethics over here, which is really the study of what terms like rightness and wrongness actually mean, where they are in the world, and ethical terms generally, whether they have meaning. Then normative ethics, which is the study of rules, the invention of rules or the discovery of rules for action. And then applied ethics, which is fundamentally the application of the normative rules to specific situations. And the way it's meant to work is that each area is meant to kind of feed into the next area. So you decide your meta-ethical view, which informs your rule-based normative ethical view, which then informs your applied ethical view. I said meant to be because it doesn't always work like that. So I just want to go through this bit by bit. We're going to talk about each area in a little bit more detail, but I promise a lot more as we go on. So metaethics is then kind of my definition of this is that it is the study of the study of ethics. It's the study of kind of what we do when we talk about ethics. Now that sounds complicated, doesn't it? Also complicated apparently is writing a K, talk about ethics. So let me explain what that means. When you say something like murder is wrong, right? You're making a normative and applied ethical claim. The meta-ethical question says, well, what do you actually mean by wrong? What does wrong mean? And there are two answers to that, right? There's a kind of a realist answer and a non-realist or anti-realist answer. So in broad terms, these are saying, and I'm just giving you a definition of these. A realist answer says, well, wrongness is a fact in the world. When I say that murder is wrong, I'm referring to some sort of reality. Maybe God says it's wrong, or maybe it causes pain and pain literally is wrong. An anti-realist, however, says no. Wrongness isn't a thing. There are no facts. Instead, there are only kind of orders or kind of emotions or whatever. There are other distinctions too, and I'm not going to go into this in detail, but do another question that a meta-ethicist might ask is something like, do moral statements have a truth value? What that means is, are they actually are they actually meaningful? So let me just give you an example of a truth what we call a truth apt statement, something with truth value. Is something like the Earth orbits the sun. Has a truth value, right? So you might say, well, when something is wrong, I'm saying it like I make a physics claim. Or it might be that it has no truth value. So, for instance, I like ice cream is another statement that doesn't have truth value. It's rather an expression of my emotion. Oh, I like ice cream. Um, and that might be what wrongness is. Maybe I'm just expressing my distaste. Okay, so those are some of the questions in metaethics. The study of metaethics is really the study of what we do when we talk about ethics. Let's move on now to normative ethics. So normative ethics is essentially the rules for action. So that means, how best ought we to create certain rules for behavior? And there are different ways of seeing this. So one of the big divides here is between what we call a teleological ethics and a deontological ethics. So let's explain what those are. I'm doing this in a different order, aren't I? So that's how you spell those: teleological and deontological. They are answers to the question, what makes something wrong or right? Okay. If we can work out what it is that makes something wrong or right, we can start to make rules about those things. So a teleological answer says it is only the consequences that matter. Your actual action doesn't matter at all. You do whatever it is you do, and then we look at the consequences. So, giving to charity isn't a good thing, but the effects of giving to charity are either good or bad, depending upon your charity that you give to. So you want to give to the one that has the best consequences, and that makes your action the best thing. Whereas deontological ethics says, no, you just have duties. It's just about right or wrong specific actions. So giving to charity, for instance, is right because you ought to do it, and that's the end of it. So these are different kind of theories of action based upon what they think right and wrong are, what makes something right and wrong. So normative ethics is all about creating kind of a reasonable, logical set of rules of action. Finally, we have applied ethics, and this is by far the easiest to understand. We take those rules for action and then we apply them. So what we do is we say, well, here are situations. What is the right thing to do? You apply the rules to situations. So kind of the key question here is what should we do? And we deal often with moral dilemmas. A moral dilemma is really when there is a kind of a choice, a a choice that is not easy to make, um, and you've got to apply these ethical frameworks to that difficult choice. So there we go. Those are the three kind of areas of ethics. You have applied ethics, which is all about applying the rules of the situations. This is really the actions, or at least the theoretical actions of ethics. I want you to imagine that by analogy, a bit like actors in a film set, right? So these actors on a film set, they they are engaged in kind of the actual behavior of ethics, or in this case, of performing some sort of drama. Um, that's what they do. They are engaged in the practice. Whereas normative ethics is all about the rules for the action. So they're a bit like the director in in the drama. He isn't acting. He doesn't play a part in the actual action, but he knows the rules and he gives the directions for the actors to behave. Okay, so that's kind of normative ethics, the rules for action. And then finally, what we have is metaethics, which is the study of what we do when we talk about ethics. So it's not someone that's engaged in the actions themselves, and it's not the person setting the rules. It's instead kind of the TV critic sat at home, uh, kind of evaluating how they're doing. He knows the rules like the director does, and he's seeing the actions, but he's not engaged in the process of ethics at all. There's this kind of big divide, right? He is evaluating what they do when they perform their drama. In the same way, a meta-ethicist is involved in evaluating what people do when they do ethics. So that's it. Those are the three levels of study in ethics: meta ethics, normative ethics, and applied ethics.